The Guardian Knight will be returning in a brand new expansion, and is fighting against a familiar face. Besides Prophecy of Teller, it's been a while since I covered HeroQuest news. Because of that, a few exciting things have happened. To begin with, the Rogue Heir began shipping in October, with people in Australia receiving it before anyone else in the world. December 1st was the expected date on Hasbro Pulse, so this was a pleasant surprise. This shipping coincided with our first of 2 app updates, which added the Rogue Heir of Elithorn, as well as the Guardian Knight. The addition of the Knight is interesting because of something that I'll address later. September 30th and October 1st was Hasbro PulseCon, with Avalon Hill's panel almost entirely dedicated to HeroScape Age of Annihilation. They had prototype miniatures and beautiful concept art, but in the end the project only reached half of its funding goal. On the positive side, there was more advertising than HeroQuest, including sending samples to mini wargaming to spread awareness of it to people who are already interested in wargaming. Part of this failure may be from miscommunications and having to change things like the card style, but I personally think that 2 factors led to its failure. The first is the high price point for unpainted plastic. The original game was pre-painted for a much cheaper price, though it may have been that way because of unethical labor. And the second factor is that it's not exactly what the community wanted. It is true that they did want more content for the game, but people would have preferred painted miniatures. Those who owned the old master sets had a sufficient amount of tiles, and they didn't really need any more. Unlike HeroQuest, which was a reprint of the old game, Age of Annihilation was a continuation of the story with a few familiar faces, but mostly new factions, monsters, and game rules, and that included no historic units, such as the soldiers and Vikings that were in the original game. Another unfortunate thing is that the familiar heroes were all locked behind stretch goals, even though they were teased first. While HeroScape had its time in the spotlight at PulseCon this year, Avalon Hill didn't want us HeroQuest fans to feel left out. On September 30th, and Carmine posted this image in the Avalon Hill Discord server, paying homage to the 2021 Frozen Horror teaser, except the expansion was replaced with a photoshopped image of something else. This unnamed expansion was something entirely brand new. At an investor meeting not long afterwards, we saw it was called Rise of the Dread Blank. After multiple guesses, Elviler, who owns Elviler.com, guessed correctly that the name was Rise of the Dread Moon. Let's take a closer look at this box art and try to understand what it might be about. We can clearly see a knight in shining armor, indicating that the Guardian Knight will return. The knight is also helping the heroes defend themselves, indicating a good alignment just like the previous Guardian Knight. They are fighting against elves in red clothing, demonstrating a possible connection to Mage of the Mirror or the Kingdom of Elithorn. I also spotted spirits appearing from a looming fortress, showing a plausible connection to Spirit Queen's Torment, or at least some type of magical spirits involved. We know that Rise of the Dread Moon takes place after all other new edition quests, with the exception of Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, and it seems like this is going to be a sequel to Mage of the Mirror. On January 18th, we were given a picture of the knight on a card. Unsurprisingly, it has the same stats as the original Guardian Knight. But interestingly enough, in both the box art and card, this knight has their helmet on. Because of this, I wonder if a male and female knight will be included, both wearing helmets, or if the same miniature will represent both genders. We know that Rise of the Dread Moon will be the fall 2023 release, based on multiple pre-orders and the date included with the card. In a discussion about what constitutes a leak versus a teaser on March 5th, and Carmine showed the side of the box. It is the same size as Mage of the Mirror and Frozen Horror. Just as I was about to sit down to record this video, I noticed that there were more Dread Moon teasers posted. The first is a clear image of the box art. Now we can clearly see what's going on, and that the bearded man on the left is a human. The spiritual face beneath the title is interesting, because she looks similar to the Spirit Queen, though it might represent another powerful elf sorcerer. Our second teaser is concept art of the bearded man, who is known as a traitor. Besides admiring the vines and skull on the shield, the interesting thing is who he is. The most common thought is Sir Ragnar, which is cool since people have theorized he's evil for a while. Based on the app picture and the crowdfunding campaign sculpt, I agree. If Avalon Hill planned this from the beginning, it makes more sense why this random guy from Quest 2 got his own miniature. A powerful traitor amidst the forces of good is enough to call in the elite warriors of the realm's Guardian Knights, and the heroes who fight against Sargon's forces. The last thing from Rise of the Dread Moon that we got was a reminder of the Cadre of the Raven's Veil, which I imagine is going to be playing an important role within this expansion. Going back to October, Mage of the Mirror was listed for pre-order on Hasbro Pulse. I'll let you take a look at this yourself, but one thing I found interesting is that the back of the box looks different than a previous version we saw. On January 17th, the pre-orders were changed to a full launch. This went along with a brand new lore video.
Behold the splendor of Elethorn, a rich and mysterious land beyond the realm, home to Queen Terelia and her subjects.
The first thing that I can say here is that the kingdom of Elethorn really looks beautiful. I do imagine it as an elven city, similar to Rivendell, although it looks like on a larger scale, just judging by the gate there at the front.
Queen Terelia's daughter, the young Princess Melandriel, has been stolen away by dark forces unknown. From her disappearance, a web of tangled falsehoods, suspicions, and civil unrest has been revealed within the court of Elethorn.
One thing that these videos do really well is contextualize the mission, and really creates an immersive story for all of these things. And with this picture in particular, I love how all the monsters are in shadow. It adds an element of unknown and horror to it, and that ogre looks especially grotesque. You can really see represented here how distressed the queen is, and in grief over her daughter.
A mirrored labyrinth where enemies don the mask of allies and the truth is rarely what it seems. Insidious agents lurk in the illustrious halls of the Elven Kingdom.
That line about not knowing who to trust is interesting in the context of Rise of the Dread Moon as well. Oh, and I like how this guy's just deflecting the giant axe of the ogre with his little short sword there. Looks like he did it accidentally mid-swing to the wolf.
If you fail, the land of the elves shall fall. The quest is calling.
I think that the Rogue Heir video is still my favorite, but that one is pretty good. On February 23rd, we got our second app update, adding Mage of the Mirror. And if you didn't see my previous video, we were recently shown a teaser for Prophecy of Teller as well. Thanks for watching, and there's more HeroQuest news to be coming in the future. Goodbye.